All right,
Ah,
I think we are live, so I'm gonna give this a second to tell me it's setting up and it's all good. But you are live, or we're back with Cultivating Connections in the time of COVID, and we are bringing you our second presentation of the day, but first one to our National Grange Facebook page. If you missed our one earlier, that is on our group, Grange Heritage Forum, which is a members only forum. And that's because we were offering you something that specifically looked at some member issue with the seventh degree and what the assembly is and those type of things. So we figured that that's probably just a member discussion. So tonight we're bringing you our live presentation, and we have with us CEO and founder and also Grange member of Adrenal Alternatives Foundation, Winslow Dixon Jackson. New last name added there, Winslow.
yeah, thank you guys so much for hosting my webinar today with you guys. I'm so excited. Like she said, I've been a lifelong member of the Grange. My mom was actually in the Grange when she was young in North Carolina, so we have been members for a long, long time. I am representing Arcadia Grange, number 607, little bitty Arcadia Grange, but we have enjoyed Grange so much, and I am looking forward to getting back into it. I've been in Florida for the past 4 years, and I have just recently moved back to North Carolina. Got a new last name, getting a new life. So I am excited to be back in Grange, and I'm excited to share some tips on how to prevent the COVID-19. And I'm excited for Grange to be doing these cultivating connections. I think that's awesome as we're all sitting at home bored. So thank you so much, Amanda.
Absolutely. I'm really excited that you're here with us, and that you get to talk a little bit about your foundation first, because it's interesting to find a young person who's founded something. And so I want you to first to just tell us a little about that before we get into the presentation about how to prevent the spread of COVID. So what is Adrenal Alternatives, and how did you get interested in the topic? And then how did you go about founding this?
So, like I said, I've been a lifelong Grange member for a long time. My dad was a Baptist pastor and all kinds of stuff. So I've been in nonprofit work and community service and things like that my whole life. And so I was really kind of familiar with volunteer work and charity work and things like that. And I was diagnosed with an adrenal disease called Addison's disease, which basically, to give you an easy comparison, it's kind of like how diabetics need insulin, and they have to check their blood sugar and things like that. Well, Addison's disease is adrenal failure, and your adrenals, people think, make adrenaline and all this stuff, but they do more than that. They actually make a life-sustaining hormone called cortisol, and your body needs cortisol 24/7. It's in every body system. It's in every single cell. Well, when you have adrenal failure, your body doesn't make it. And so it's just like the diabetics need insulin, we need cortisol. The only difference is that with diabetes, you can check your blood sugar levels. There is no short-term way to check your blood cortisol levels at this time. So this disease is a constant myriad of trying to figure things out. And with me, I also have a congenital kidney disorder where I didn't absorb things, and it was just a nightmare. And so I was having to take steroid pills every 90 minutes to stay alive, to keep cortisol in my system. That's the only treatment for adrenal disease, is taking steroids. So I was having to take a pill every 90 minutes. And I got to the point where I was pursuing a degree in medicine, and then I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't shower myself. And I was like, I knew I was dying. And the doctors pretty much gave me up to die. And they were like, well, just go enjoy your time left. And I was 23 at the time. And I was like, no, there has to be another way. So I started researching, and already being in the medical field, I was fortunate to have some resources and things like that. And then I discovered that there's an alternative treatment where people were taking insulin pumps and putting cortisol in them. And so it's not FDA approved. It's a really rare treatment. And I was one of like 100 people in the world that was trying to get on this treatment. I went to all these endocrinologists, and nobody would ever help me. And so I was like, fine, I'll just have to do it myself. So I ended up, teaming up with some physicians, teaming up with some other medical professionals, some, bioengineers and things like that, and formed this organization to try to bring this treatment to the forefront. I have been on the cortisol pump myself, going on 2 years. And before my organization, there really was no safe legal way to do this. And now there is. And I really believe that that's where my pain became my purpose. So Adrenal Alternatives Foundation was originally started to help cortisol patients get to the cortisol pump. to help adrenal disease patients get to this. We have since branched out and we help people with chronic illnesses and rare disease basically find better life. Quality of life is the goal. So we spread education, advocacy, and encouragement for people to have better lives. Basically, we refer to physicians, to alternative treatments, to anybody that we think can help, we will refer you to. We have an amazing network of, like I said, physicians and alternative therapies, and just it's really grown into something where it's making people's lives better, whereas there was no hope. So that's why Adrenal Alternatives Foundation exists. So
that's really interesting, and I think that you're a really great person to talk about stemming the spread here, because the first group besides the elderly that we heard about who really needed to take precaution were people who had chronic illnesses, and so that spans the gamut, of course, of illnesses from rare to sustainable, like diabetes and high blood pressure and things. But it certainly is the group that you talk to regularly. So having this presentation from you, I think, is a perfect way to bridge our understanding of what we can do, whether we have totally healthy, active lifestyle without any complications, or whether we have complications in one form or another with our health. So I'm excited to let you take this from here. I will remind people we are live, so if you are checking us out, do you want to provide any comments or questions? We're taking those, and we'll ask those at the end. And I'm going to switch it over to our live screen view so that you can give the presentation.
Okay, so hopefully you guys can see the screen now. Oh, I love how it goes to my middle point. Okay, so like we said, we are going to talk about ways that we can prevent COVID-19. I think that's kind of the hot button issue right now, unfortunately, is to me, when they named it, it sounds like some strange alien creature that they were like, oh, the COVID-19, and I guess I'm telling my age here, but it's like on that Land of the Lost where they had the slee stacks, to me, that's what it sounds like. But anyways, like I said, my name is Winslow Dixon Jackson. I am the founder of Adrenal Alternatives, lifelong Grange member, all that good stuff. So let's just get into this. So according to the World Health Organization, there is currently no vaccine to prevent the coronavirus. However, the best way to prevent yourself from catching the virus is to avoid exposure and to practice preemptive actions to prevent the spread of germs, viruses, and bacteria. Okay, that's common sense, and we all know that. Wash your hands, blah, blah, blah. But what does that exactly mean? And so like Amanda said, there are many of us that do have more complications, comorbidities, other issues, common issues, that cause immunosuppression. If you're on certain types of medications, those are going to increase your awareness or your tendency to get an illness. So what can we do other than the common sense things to prevent COVID? So here's a thing that we released with the foundation. These are just some quick tips, and this is available. I will send the PDF to Amanda if she wants to post this. So here are some quick few tips. And so number one, you're going to want to make sure that your surfaces in your home are clean. You're going to frequently want to wipe things down with disinfectants. And so these are things that you're going to touch frequently. So they're going to have a lot of exposure to germs and things like that. Make sure you're focusing on doorknobs, on countertops, on things with handles, things that are going to be touched frequently. Because I know a lot of us essential workers and a lot of people that are still in the workforce. My husband's a police officer, so there's no way he can, stay at home during this time. So usually every day I will make sure that I'm disinfecting the floors because he, walks in with his work boots and things like that. You can, a simple trick that I learned is that you can take a Clorox wipe and actually stick it to the bottom of a Swiffer and disinfect your floor. So that's actually what I do every day in the evenings after he comes home. So I just disinfect the floor. So that's a good little trick. The second thing is, like I said, with the work boots and things, make sure that you remove your shoes before you're entering your house and change the clothes you've worn in public places. So they're saying that this coronavirus is carried topically and it's not foodborne or anything. So they're saying that this thing can stay on surfaces. So you want to make sure that you're not bringing that into your home. You want to make sure that the minute you walk in, you're changing your clothes, you're taking your shoes off. You can leave a can of Lysol on the porch or, your front door, anything like that. Take your shoes off and then spray the bottom of them, leave them outside in the sun to kind of disinfect. You're going to want to make sure that you're preventing anything from the outside world getting into your home. Also, you want to make sure that you're not sharing items such as hairbrush, makeup, things like that, toiletries. You want to make sure that you're not getting any excess exposure to anything. And then also, like we talked about, proper hygiene is essential to the prevention of germs, viruses, and pathogens. So like we said, common sense, wash your hands. Like I was telling Amanda before we got on the call, I feel like we all went to kindergarten because it's like, did you wash your hands? Did you eat your quarantine snack? I mean, that's where we're at now, but that's okay. Be sure that you're not touching your face, your eyes, your mouth with unclean hands. Be sure, especially, you're washing your hands before you eat, things like that. You're going to want to make sure that you are doing the 5-year-old, kindergarten thing. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. The typical recommendations are sing the happy birthday song, or wash your hands for at least 90 seconds with hot water, something like that. I'm not sure exactly the exact numbers, but they say if you sing the happy birthday song, that's how long you need to wash your hands with warm soapy water. So common sense. And other things you can do is be sure that you're being vigilant in public places. And this is something that I did not even realize until you start being cautious about this stuff. But, water fountains, handrails, doorknobs, things like that, you need to be really, really aware of, because we don't realize how many things that we touch that are public. And then we go and touch our face and we're messing with our glasses and, things like that. So you want to be very vigilant of using public items, especially if you're immunocompromised. I keep throwing that term around. I guess I should define it. Basically, immunocompromised is where you have a weaker immune system. So those of us that have chronic illnesses, those of us that are on certain medications such as steroids, those of you, that have pre-existing conditions, things like that, you're going to be more immunocompromised. So you're going to want to be very aware of what you're touching and kind of have some self-discipline about touching your face. I know there's a debate right now about whether people should be wearing gloves or not. I actually wear the gloves because I feel like it makes me more conscious not to touch my face, because I'm like, oh, there's something on my hands. I don't need to touch my face. Because apparently I learned that my hobbies during the COVID are spending money and touching my face and eating quarantine snacks. So, but anyways, if you're immunocompromised, it may be best to avoid these items. So just be vigilant of those things when you do go out in public. And so then I also have a list of 10 things that we can do to prevent the COVID. And it's kind of just reiterating those tips. So like I said, the immune system reacts negatively to stress, and it can place you at actually an even more risk. And they've done some studies on stress hormones and cortisol levels and things like that in conjunction with your immune system. So if you stress yourself out, you're actually going to lower your own immunity. So I just want to encourage everybody that this is not the time to panic. This is the time to prepare. This is the time to make sure that you are keeping not only your physical health at the forefront, but also your mental health. Worrying and focusing on negative thoughts will only weaken your body. It's only going to weaken your immune system. It's only going to make you more predisposed, and it's going to stress you out. So it's important to practice healthy coping skills and focus on the positive ways you can protect yourself from corona. I know that these terms that are being thrown around like pandemic and, don't watch a movie like Contagion. I made the mistake of doing that. And it was like, oh, wow, that was dumb during this time. You want to keep your mind in a state of preparation, but not panic. So it's okay to be, a little more concerned about your health. It's okay to be a little more, prepared, but you don't want to go into a panic. You don't want to, be curled up in your corner, freaking out about the world ending. And yeah, okay, a lot of stuff happened and a lot of things are shut down and it's kind of weird right now, but you can't panic. And so I would just want to encourage everybody, just keep the mindset, prepare, don't panic. So then our second task here is, like I said, be vigilant in public places. So the trick is to avoid exposure. So if you do have to go out, don't touch the handrails, don't touch the water fountain, practice social distancing. We have what's called common sense, guys. And unfortunately, common sense sometimes isn't that common. And like I said, I'm having to remind myself because you get used to things. Oh, I can, just go grab something at the water fountain. No, don't do that. Don't do that right now. Avoid anything like that, especially if you're immunocompromised. And then our third thing, like I said, wash your hands. Be sure that you are consistently doing that. That being said, if you are consistently washing your hands, be sure you're using lotion and not, getting all chafed, for lack of a better word. So wash your hands, use lotion, just be clean. Common sense. We can do this. 3-year-olds are taught to do this. We can do this, guys. Sing the happy birthday song, hot water, soap. We got this. And our fourth is don't touch your face, obviously, like we mentioned, because we can spread germs, especially those of us that wear contacts and things like that. Just be aware. Just think about it. You don't want to re-expose yourself. Be sure that you are not touching your face, your eyes, your hands, your mouth, obviously things like that. And also, like we talked about, don't share the personal items. Be sure that you're not, sharing hairbrushes and things like that. I know that we typically don't do that with strangers, but even during this time, it's like if somebody offers you a piece of gum or something like that, it's like, we probably shouldn't even be doing that right now, which is kind of sad that things like this, I feel like they bring out the worst and the best in humanity. So it's probably best to not share the gum or anything like that. And also it's helpful, like we talked about, to remove your shoes before entering your house, change the clothes that you've worn, just be smart about this, guys. We can really be smart about this. And also stay at home. Leave your home only by necessity. Only leave when it's absolutely necessary to avoid exposure and keep your risk down. And I know that with me, I got actually an exposure and didn't even know it, which shocked me because I don't go anywhere. Well, I ended up going to a family member's house, and it turned out in the next couple weeks, they had an exposure, and then they had to let me know about it. Now, fortunately, I think enough time had passed, but even me going 2 places was already exposed. So you don't even realize how quickly this can happen. And I'm saying this not to scare anybody, but to make you guys really aware that you never know with the pandemic or with any illness where it's going to be transmitted. And I think what the mistake was when handling this was that if it would have been caught way, way, way early, there's theories on whether it originated in China or not, whatever. If it would have been caught way early, we could have really prevented this. So I just want to encourage you to follow the stay-at-home orders. And I know it's a political thing and everybody's like, oh, they're trying to do the government, whatever your opinions on that are. This is still a serious pandemic. It's still something that is very serious. And so I just want to encourage you to just be smart about things. Leave your home only by necessity. If you're an essential worker, of course, you're going to want to, go to your job and do what you need to do. Like I said, my husband is a police officer, so he has to do what he has to do, but he's also taking the necessary precautions. And then, obviously you can't go out and eat or like anything like that, but maybe these random trips to Target need to stop for a little bit and things like that. I'm the world's worst about the Target effect. You walk in and then your buggy's full, but we don't need to do that right now. We need to be following the stay-at-home suggestions, and we need to leave our homes only by necessity to prevent this thing from spreading. Whatever your political views are on it, it doesn't, that's neither here nor there. The point is that you want to be safe and you want to be healthy. I don't know anybody that is like, oh, well, I don't care if I get COVID or not. Okay, well, if that's the case, then you need more health than just some medication, buddy. But anyways, only leave your home by necessity. It's very important during this time that we not only think about ourselves, but about other people. This thing is bigger than we are, and it got really big really quick. So we want to just reiterate to stay at home. Also, we need to practice social distancing, which is really difficult for those of us that are like huggers and things like that. I'm super bad about it. Like, oh, you go up and you hug people, you can't. Not that I go up and hug strangers, that would be weird. But anyways, in public places, it's just a reminder to stay at least 6 feet apart from strangers and don't engage in physical contact. So just practice smart social distancing. I know that most stores right now have things taped off and they have, shields up and things like that. So I think we're doing pretty well as a nation as far as that goes. But just a reminder, practice social distancing. And then also protect yourself. So Amanda, I'm going to turn the camera on real quick so I can show the mask. This is a handmade mask that I made for my husband because I pick on him that he's Batman because he protects our city and all that junk. But anyways, a lot of people are making these masks. For one, I think we're bored to death, and for two, you can't find them. So wear your mask. If you don't have one, let me know. I've sent random ones out. I'm bored here on the sewing machine. So, if you need one, let me know. But I'm sure you can find one or make your own. There's like a ton of PDFs. And as Grangers, we love crafts. So you can make a mask like this. You can also buy them if you can find them. These things, I got lucky because the PD gives them to him. But anyways, there are handmade masks that you can make. I can send a PDF that Amanda can post if you guys want. But be vigilant about, when you do have to go outside. So wear your mask, wash your hands, make sure that you're washing your clothes in hot water with appropriate amounts of detergent and things like that. So just be sure that you're doing that. And Amanda, if you want to turn it back to the presentation.
Yeah. Okay, we're back.
Okay. And so the last thing is just stay safe and sane. And I think that's the most difficult part, honestly, during this whole thing. Me being an extrovert and those of us that are used to running a million miles an hour and things like that, it's a really difficult thing to not be able to go and do like you normally do. To give you just a personal example, I actually came up to North Carolina for my wedding shower and ended up getting stuck here because of all the quarantine rules. And then the National Guard showed up and Florida shut its borders. And so as a Florida resident, I could have gotten back, but I couldn't have returned to North Carolina until the quarantines are over. So I had to make the quick decision to either go or stay. And so I made the decision to stay, and then our wedding got canceled. And so because of the COVID, I ended up getting married 2 months before I was scheduled to. But that's okay. That being said, I came up here with 2 weeks worth of stuff in a suitcase, and that's what I've been living off of. But life is what you make it. And I am a quarantine newlywed, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But it's just important that you have a good perspective on whatever's going on. Yes, I'm sure there are a lot of parents that are having to homeschool and their kids are driving them nuts. But honestly, this is a massive gift that we've been given. We have been given time with our loved ones that are in our home. And a lot of us are being allowed to work from home, and we're being forced to kind of stop and slow down and appreciate the little things. And so, yes, it stinks that we can't go out to our favorite restaurants and can't go shopping, and there's a curfew of 5 p.m. And yeah, okay, those are some negative things. And it's terrible that there have been so many deaths due to this COVID. And my heart and condolences go out to everyone who's lost someone during this. But that being said, this is a time where we can take a step back and really look at what's important in our lives. We can, we're working from home now. And, those of us that, like I said, are home with kids, and we can really take this time to become better versions of ourselves. We can take this time to maybe enjoy things that we don't normally get a chance to. Go sit outside, go take a walk around your neighborhood, go play a board game with your kids. This is a time where we can really slow down. And so I just want to encourage everybody to focus on your mental health during this time too. Take time to read a book, take time to develop an interest that you might not have had a chance to. This is a great opportunity. Like I said, I've been making masks. I haven't sewn anything in God knows how long, but I saw the need in our local community. And so I was like, oh, I'll make some masks. I've had the best time just doing that, and we can all find positives in this. You can always find a blessing.
I think that the one thing that we did early was put out a video about how to make a mask, and that's been really interesting to see how many people, have decided to take part in that. And just the number of folks who seem to really enjoy doing that. I know my mom's been doing that. So it's nice to see that we've all found ways to do certain things.
Exactly.
So I was going to bring you back on.
Okay. I have one more thing on the slide.
There you go. Go ahead.
So this is my current status right now with the COVID. Just to reiterate on the mental health thing. This is a little funny joke that I think is funny because I cannot put these goldfish down for the life of me. So right now I'm wearing a mask at home to protect myself, not from the COVID, but from my eating during the quarantine. So I had to share that with you guys because I thought that meme was funny.
Absolutely. So we asked if anyone had any questions, and we have one that came in to me earlier, and I got to figure out how to stop your screen share, I think, because that's all we're seeing. We have one person who said that they're not very good at crafts. And so I think we've talked about the fact that there's lots of Grangers out there that are good at some of that stuff that might be able to fulfill some orders for homemade masks if necessary. And, we've talked a little bit about being able to do a share, within the Grange share or swap. So I don't know if that's something that you're interested in helping facilitate, or if your foundation's been working.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
That would be
That's
great.
the thing about this time is like I'm not a good seamstress at all. But I think this is the time where you kind of learn. So even if you do stink at crafts, like my first mask was janky and like whatever, you can get better. So even if don't say you stink at crafts, because everybody stinks at crafts. I think it's just the way that it is. But and that's the thing with charity work too. I have made these for half of our town. And I don't sell them because literally it's so novice. I would feel bad selling them. So if somebody, is like, oh, I'm not good at crafts, we can certainly if you want me to do a live stream of me making one of these masks and how I do it, I'm fine with that. Grangers are crafty people, but hello. Have you been to a Grange convention? Some of that stuff is pretty janky. I'm just kidding.
I think that we all make things out of what we got. And at this point, some of us don't have the elastic or the fabric or the whatever.
You're exactly right.
We're finding really inventive ways to do things.
And I think that's the point of creativity. It's, everything is not going to be perfect. There are going to be some things that are lopsided. There are going to be, some things that are kind of, imperfect. And I think that's the beauty of crafting, is that you could put your own spin on things. It's not some cookie cutter thing. It's like, oh, I messed up here, and it's that's part of the creative process. And so if you say you're bad at crafts, it's like, well, that's everybody's bad at crafts. That's the point of crafting. You just kind of create. That's the point.
So we didn't have any questions, but we did have a couple of people thanking you for sharing these. I think a lot of us have heard so much, but it's really nice to kind of hear it again, and it's nice to kind of put it in perspective with what we're doing, and just think a little bit more about, being conscious, like you said, of what you're touching. You don't realize how much you touch until you're out there. I know my mom has recently made out of like one of those Advil bottles, the larger size Advil bottles. She put some rubbing alcohol in there, and she put some paper towels, and she carries that around, and she'll wipe things down as she's going. And she said, she never thought she touched so many things until she started touching the things after she had wiped them down. So just being more cognizant, I think, is really important. So thank you for bringing us that. If anybody has any questions about your foundation, especially because we do have a number of members who deal with chronic illness, I'm going to put the website address down here in the bottom comments. So that's www.adrenalalternatives.org.
I think it's .com. Okay. Yeah, .org was it was an afterthought. I was like, I should have probably bought, and then I already bought the domain, and I was like, well, that's on all the business cards, so that's how it goes. That's the thing about when you're new. We've been in organization 3 years, but it's like when you're new, you don't know, and then you have a pile of business cards that look like this, and you don't want to reprint them. So.
That's right. So, all right. Well, I think that we're going to log off for the evening. Winslow, I'm really glad to see you, and I'm glad to see you back with us back in North Carolina, where you can get reinvested in Arcadia Grange. I'm sure they're excited to have you back, and drag your husband in with you.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. And we are going to be live tomorrow again. We've got 2 sessions. We have a 4:00 with Walter Boomsma, who is the author of a book about Grange traditions. So definitely join us back for that. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion about how some of the things that we do really are helpful at this time, and also how some of the things that we do are really we struggle in new settings when we have to adapt to technology and things like that at this time, where we're figuring out what's important. And then we're going to follow that pretty much directly at 5:00 with an introduction, number 2, to deaf culture and ASL with our 2 presenters. And so they're going to be teaching us some fun things. I will not ruin the surprise, but we will see you tomorrow. Thank you again, Winslow, so much.
Thank you, Amanda.
And do you want to do the sign off like I normally do, since I always tell them?
Oh gosh.
So be safe, be well, and wash your hands.
Exactly. Wash your hands. I'll be a little flippy with it. Wash your hands. Stay safe, stay sane.